Introducing the remarkable archetype, the dangerous gentleman. With a demeanor that commands respect and a hint of potency, he embodies strength tempered by virtue. Though his capabilities could veer towards danger, he channels his power for noble causes, serving others and safeguarding those in need. Rooted in a profound love for both God and humanity, he navigates life with discipline and purpose. In his presence, one witnesses the harmonious blend of power and benevolence, a testament to the true essence of masculinity. Step into the world of the dangerous gentleman, where strength is wielded for righteousness, and discover a captivating embodiment of honor and valor. Greetings, and welcome to Storytime with the Dangerous Gentleman. Yes, I am the Dangerous Gentleman. No, I did not give myself that nickname, but I certainly did earn it. So, in case you haven't picked up on it yet, I'm a twin. I actually have three brothers. I have an older brother and a twin brother who is technically older, but we'll get into all of that. And then I have a younger brother and I have a sister who's older than me. This particular episode, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it's like to actually be a twin and some stories. Like, we have a lot of stories, as you can imagine. You have a twin brother, you have a lot of stories together. Before I get too far down that road, I'm just going to share a little observation I've made about twins, because when people know you're a twin, all of a sudden you find out, like, everyone's like, oh yeah, I'm a twin. Oh yeah, you find other twins, right? And my one interesting observation I've seen over the course of my life is that with twins, they either get along great and they're best friends and inseparable, or they can't stand each other, and there's really not a whole lot of room in between. It's one extreme or the other. Never is it kind of like, yeah, we get along okay. It's always best friends or can't stand each other, and that has a lot to do with the nature of being a twin. You're literally born on the same day at the same time. You are raised together. You do, by the nature of the beast, you do everything together. So either you go through that struggle of learning to get along and you come out on the other side as great friends, or it completely drives you apart and separates you. So my brother and I are identical twins. The difference between identical twins and what's called fraternal twins is that identical twins is when one egg in the mother's womb gets fertilized and it splits into two separate embryos. So the two embryos are genetically identical. Now, that kind of twin is not hereditary. That kind of twin is not passed on. Fraternal twins is when the mother releases two eggs and they are both fertilized and they both implant and both babies are carried to birth. And so those kind of twins, they are not identical. They have completely separate and different DNA. And they can be a boy or a girl, or they can be a boy and a girl, or two girls or two boys, or whatever it is. With identical twins, they are the same. They are both boys or they are both girls. Fraternal twins are hereditary because the tendency to release more than one egg at a time is a genetic trait. So my brother and I are identical twins. My parents were super excited. It was my parents' their third pregnancy. So I had my older brother and my older sister, and then my mom got pregnant again. And they found out, fairly early on that they were having twins. And that was back in the day when not everybody found out that they were having boys or girls. They either couldn't or they just didn't. It just wasn't a thing that everyone has to find out whether that's a boy or a girl. Now, a little aside, I think that's kind of cheating when everybody finds out what they're having. It's kind of cheating, and it's not really that much of a surprise because it's either going to be a boy or it's going to be a girl, regardless of whenever anybody tells you. Now, there's those rare exceptions where weird things happen and like the chromosomes are messed up or whatever, but that is by far the exception to the rule. Half the time boys, half the time girls, and that's just the way that it is. So my parents didn't know whether they were going to have boys or girls. And they didn't even know necessarily that we were identical because there were twins on one side of the family or the other. I think it was my grandma on my mom's side was a fraternal twin. So there were some twins. I don't quote me on that. At some point in our family history, there were some fraternal twins. So they weren't even sure whether we were going to be identical or fraternal, boys or girls or whatever. But if we were both girls, it was going to be Katie and Carrie. And then, of course, ended up being boys. And so Andrew and Daniel. At the time, my parents lived in an intentional community in Central Oregon. They were part of an intentional Christian community. My dad was the community doctor. So my parents were super excited about all that. Like I said, my dad was the doctor in the community, and my mom, she pretty much raised kids. That's what her job was, to raise my older brother and my sister, and then my brother and I came along. She consulted because she was a school teacher, so she helped out with the school some, and she did some babysitting, but her primary job was just to be a wife and a homemaker and raise babies. A lot of women are happy that way. Many women would be happier that way, but that's a topic for a different day. Anyway, partway through the pregnancy, they did an ultrasound and they found out that my brother was significantly smaller than me. Like he was not growing real well. So as a result of that, my mom had to lay down for the last, I believe it was 10 weeks of her pregnancy, and lay on one side of her body in order to help my brother to get enough nutrition in order to grow. And my brother's now 47 years old. And so obviously he came out, he's fine. He had some health challenges when we were younger, but whether that's related to that or not, I don't know. Anyway, so we were born boys. So the way it happened was is that I was all set to come out first. I was going to be born but I was coming out feet first or breech, right? And that is not the safest, healthiest way for a baby to be born. So in order to try to help me get turned around, they actually took my feet and pushed me back up inside. Process of that, my brother slipped around me and came out head first. So he was born first. I'm still a little salty about that. Not sure how salty, but it's not like there's a birthright or like any that. It's just one of those things. Anyway, but I'm really thankful for it because when he came out head first, he helped open up the birth canal, making it wide enough for me to be able to come out and be born breech. So he was born first. 2 minutes later, I came along and I was born breech. Everyone in the family is super excited. My mom and dad super excited. My grandparents super excited to have a set of twins. And just a fun story to go along with that. My grandparents on my mom's side, they lived in Wisconsin at the time. And they came after we were born, they came out to visit because I wanted to meet the new grandbabies. And they didn't know, because this was in the 70s, they were supposed to meet my parents in the town they lived in. What my parents did, just for the heck of it, was they drove up a couple of stops ahead, further up on the train. And my parents, with my older brother and my sister, got on the train that my grandparents were on, a couple of cars away, and then surprised them by walking down then to meet them on the train rather than waiting for them to come to the train station. So that's kind of a cool story. So, what's it like to be a twin? Well, one of the questions I get all the time is, did we ever, like play tricks on people, on our teachers or anything like that? No, we really didn't. We didn't really have to because people confused us all the time anyway. My mom and dad they would dress us. My mom, I'm not going to say my dad dressed us because that really didn't happen very often. And if my dad tried to dress us, who knows what we would have looked like. But my mom would buy matching outfits. They would match in every way, but they would be different colors. And so one of us would be wearing the same outfit in yellow, and one of us would be wearing the same outfit in green, or whatever it was. And so when we were born, I was a little bit bigger. And to this day, I'm a little bit bigger. Always have been. I'm like an inch and a half taller than him. If you really wanted to dissect it and look down, I was always just 10% bigger. Other than that, you couldn't tell us apart. If we weren't standing next to each other, and this is still the case, this is what I tell people. If you see us standing next to each other, you'd be like, oh, well, that's him and that's him. But if you only see one of us at a time, you can get confused. And I tell people that, and they're like, nah, there's no way. And then they meet us. And then, like, if they only see one of us, then it's true. It turns out I know myself and I know my brother. So growing up, we really didn't goof around with people all that much. It was fun enough just being a twin. It was fun enough. Like we were kindergarten, we were in the same class. First grade, my parents had the great idea to separate us. We were going to a private school and they had two different first grade classrooms. And that was the first time in our life where we weren't like together constantly all day, every day. And it was a little traumatic, if I remember correctly. Of course, that was 40 plus years ago. But yeah, we had a little bit different friend groups, right? We knew different people. We had different teachers. We had some different experiences growing up. That was only in first grade. By the time we got to second grade, the school had gotten smaller. And so now there was only one second grade classroom. But that one first grade year, we were separated. But no, we never really were the mischievous types or we would try to sneak into each other's classrooms and mess with people all that much. It just wasn't a thing. We're alike enough without having to do that. So another question I get all the time is do you guys do the twin thing? And by the twin thing, what they're referring to is like how similar are you other than in just how you look? And I'm going to tell you right now, it is scary sometimes how similar we can be. Like, I have picked my brother up at the airport and we're wearing the same clothes. Again, maybe a different color, but like the same brand of polo shirt. We have the same cell phone. We use the same kind of toothbrush. Like, it's uncanny sometimes. We will literally, there's been times where I picked up my phone to call him and he has called me at the exact same time and we just pick up and we just start talking. And it's just like, whoa, that was kind of weird. We are on a wavelength in a way that very few people actually ever get to experience. And it's kind of cool. And it's kind of cool. In a lot of ways, it's like having a mirror. Not always. We are enough different that we process things just a little bit differently that we can actually help each other out with some things. But we're also similar enough that if one of us starts to BS the other one, we can call them out and be like, hey, man, that's not right. So there's enough of that. And we've been through similar enough experiences. We've traveled down similar roads. Now, the specifics are different. My brother went into the military and did like 8 years active duty in the military. I went away to college and grad school. So that was radically different. He got married a couple years ahead of me. I got married and then I started having kids before he had any kids. So, like, he had experience in marriage before I got married, and I had experience with kids before he had kids. And so we were able to walk each other through some of that stuff. Even the struggles that we've gone through, the struggles with our identity, the struggles with our relationship with God, the struggles with our relationship with women, the struggles that we've had in coping with some of the difficulties we had growing up, we've processed them very similarly. So our paths have been pretty parallel as far as the struggles, as far as the difficulties, and as far as coming to conclusions about things and resolutions about things. Parallel, in other words, they're right next to each other, but one of us is sometimes further ahead or further behind on the timeline. So I might be 6 months further down the road, and my brother calls me and he goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this is what's going on. And he just starts to describe it. And I'm on the other end of the phone, just nodding. Of course, you can't see me nodding, but I'm just nodding my head. I'm going, all right, time out. Let me tell you how to get through this because I was where you were 6 months ago. Let me give you some hints. And then time will go by and my brother will have gone through a process, whatever difficult thing that he's going through. And he's 6 months down the road. And then I end up talking to him about the same thing. And so now he's got all kinds of insights for me to help me walk through whatever it is. And being in nature of a brother relationship, sometimes we're not the greatest at taking advice from each other. But usually, eventually, I would have to say that if we're able to step back from being so close to it, up in there in that brotherly relationship, when we're able to kind of pan out and look at the situation and actually listen to the other one without all that subjectivity and just actually listen to what it is that they're saying, most of the time, it's very helpful advice. If we can get past that sibling, twin, for lack of a better term, bullshit that comes up sometimes, if we can look past that and move past that, generally speaking, the words that the other one has to say are exactly the words that we need to hear. And there have been a few times where I've been able to do that. Like when my life was falling apart. Like for a long period of time, when my life was falling apart, I didn't want to talk to my brother, and my brother didn't want to talk to me. Like we were so at odds because he just couldn't comprehend where I was. And I couldn't communicate to him what was going on. But then once I started actually walking through that process, who was the one person that was there for me? Who was the person who said, I don't care what's going on. I don't care what it takes. Get on a bus, go buy a ticket, get on a bus, come down here and live with me. We got this. We'll get you through this. It was my brother who did that for me. No one else. It was him. And I'm eternally thankful for that. Without him reaching out and making that offer, I don't know where I would be today. And so I'm eternally grateful to him. This is obviously going to be only one of multiple episodes about my brother and the adventures that we've had, and the lessons we've learned from each other, and the crazy stories that we've experienced together. And one of these days, I'll have him on and we'll do a dual episode. One quick story I want to tell you. It's kind of fun before I end the episode. So if you've seen my picture, you know that I shave my head, right? And so the way that started is like 4 years ago. It was right in the middle of COVID. I knew my hair was thinning, and I was having to get my hair cut all the time because just how thin it was. In order to make it look halfway decent, I had to get it cut every like 3 weeks, and I had to use all this product in my hair to make it look good. But then it became extremely difficult to get a haircut because of COVID. They kept limited hours, and I could never get in to get a haircut, so my hair always looked like crap. And then my brother shaved his head. And I was like, huh. And like I said, my brother is my mirror. Our heads are the same. And I remember one day just struggling to try to get an appointment to get my hair cut. And then this picture of my brother pops up and he's got a shaved head. And I was like, you know what? If he can pull off the shaved head look, I can pull off the shaved head look. And so I shaved my head, and that's been like 4 years now, and I haven't looked back. And I don't have to worry about goop in my hair. I don't have to worry about hat head. Anyway, but I had that mirror to look at. In that case, a physical, almost physical mirror to look at and be like, you know what? If he can pull it off, so can I. So, in a lot of ways, my brother is both a physical mirror, but he's also a personal and a spiritual mirror that I've been able to look at and be able to learn from and been able to glean and grow from what he's gone through, because he is me and I am him. I don't mean that literally, but we think alike in so many ways. And so to be able to have someone like that in your life, in my life, I count myself extremely fortunate. I thank God regularly that I have a twin brother who I can look at and I can be inspired by, I can learn from, and I can talk to somebody who is thinking almost exactly how I'm thinking. Now, not everyone has that. That's the way it is, but I appreciate it so much, and I thank God for my twin brother. I thank God for all my brothers. And there'll be more stories about all of them and my sister and all that. But like my brother and I are close. We are mirror images. Kind of crazy sometimes, but to have someone like that, to be able to bounce things off of and to almost be able to predict exactly what they're going to say or what they're going to be thinking, I count myself fortunate. So if you like this content, please give it a rating, a review, and share it with your friends. Also, if you'd like to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm all about and what I can maybe do for you, check out my website at thedangerousgentleman.org. That's thedangerousgentleman.org. Thank you for listening.